Today we're going to be talking about self-confidence. Actually, we're going to be talking about confidence in general. Having gone through alienation or any kind of long-term complex trauma, confidence can feel like it belongs to a different species of human. You might look back on that old version of you and think, who was that person who could just get on a plane or walk into a room or set a boundary without rehearsing every worst case scenario? Now, it's like every decision that you make, even the little ones, has a committee in your head voting like, no fucking way, no way. Maybe you notice it in really practical ways where you overthink sending a text to your kid, right? Every client, I think that nearly every client that I've ever had has had that happen. Just a simple, like, I love you text or thinking about you text, because of all the advice that we get from all the other people. There's influx of information from parental alienation experts and what have you, right? You rehearse what you'll say to your ex or to a lawyer 100 times until you feel sick. You second guess the way that you've handled something weeks ago. You find yourself asking other people what you should do about everything, because the idea of trusting your own judgment feels dangerous. Underneath all of that is this quieter grief, though. It's this, I don't recognize myself anymore. I used to be brave. I used to be fun. I used to just do things on a whim. That loss of self can hurt worse than anything the court, your child even, or your ex ever said to you. So if that is where you're living right now, if you feel a little smaller, shakier, a little bit less sure of yourself today than you've ever been, you are exactly who I'm talking to today. So before we talk about how to get any of that confidence back, I want to quickly pull apart what I actually mean by confidence and self-confidence, because they're not the same thing. And the difference really matters when it comes to our situations of alienation. So confidence definitions, confidence is a feeling. Confidence itself is a feeling that comes from experience and evidence, collected evidence. I've done this before. I know what to expect. It's mostly external and situational. You might feel confident driving a car, doing certain parts of your job, making dinner, while at the same time feeling completely unsteady or unsure about sending a message like I just talked about to your kid or walking into court. Self-confidence, though, is different. Self-confidence is internal. It's not about what you've already done. It's about what you believe about you. It sounds more like, even if I've never done this, I trust my ability to figure it out and handle myself all the way along. It's a more general mindset that you can carry from situation to situation, not just one narrow scale. So one super simple way to see this, confidence is, I've done this before. I can do it again. Self-confidence, on the other hand, is I can handle whatever happens. Good feelings, bad feelings, positive, negative, however you want to look at that. It's all okay because I know I can get through this. It's this deep-rooted trust that you will know how to get through whatever comes your way, right? And for us as alienated parents, I mean, this is one area that I think has been tested so much, and I'm going to get into that more in a few minutes, so hang tight. So confidence is fragile. One bad experience, one curveball, one harsh comment can knock it down in an instant, okay? And I'm going to explain that more in a second too, or give you an example of that more in a second. Self-confidence is steady because it's rooted in self-trust and in your beliefs about your capacity, not in one specific result on one specific day. After alienation, most parents are trying to fix their confidence by collecting more evidence that they are okay, or that they can do it, or that they're going to get through it, But really, what's been eroded many times is self-confidence, our willingness to believe that they can trust themselves again, okay? That's the thing. Alienation puts the focus on us in all the negative ways. And what we do from that, which makes sense why, is to focus outward because of that. It's like almost like we've been scooped out everything, our role got taken, our reputations many times, maybe finances, maybe all the things, right? And so because we feel like we've been emptied out, we go trying to look outside to get those things back, to replenish us, which ends up being so backwards because those things, not our children, but otherwise are just things. And we have us, like who you are, who I am. Our human brain is so powerful. Our systems are so powerful, and we are capable. If we created it once, we can go create it again, and we can create it even better. But when we're coming from all the trauma that we have, we end up thinking, oh, well, I need to get it out there. I need to get the validation, or I've been abandoned. I need to go find people to accept me again, or I need this, whatever it is. Our focus gets drawn outward just by the nature of this whole dynamic, right? And that's what causes this fucking hell that we live in many times. I mean, there's a lot of aspects of this, but this is one of the major aspects. So to sum up the definitions real quick, it's the difference between a fixed or growth mindset. Confidence is fixed and self-confidence is growth mindset, okay? So I did an episode on that too, you guys, maybe in the last half of 2023. Like I can link it below. I forget. It was the fixed or growth mindset episode talking about stress could be a positive thing for you. And it was all inspired by, now that I'm thinking about it, was all inspired by a Huberman podcast episode that I had watched back then. So once you see the difference that I just explained up there, that between the fixed and growth mindset, it gets clearer that confidence from experience is optional. I think this is really fucking important to point out, okay? You don't actually, and I know I led up to that last week and maybe the week before, like you don't need the confidence, you could just, it comes after. Yes, for confidence, and we're talking about specific tasks, but really confidence is optional. I could swear that I did an episode on this, on the difference between confidence and self-confidence back maybe a few years ago. But I couldn't find it anywhere, so I'm doing it now, and it's going to be different anyway. So just what I said reminded me of something I thought that I said back then. But anyway, confidence from experience is optional, but self-confidence is not. Like your experience for sure can make some things feel much smoother, right? But it's your belief in yourself that actually lets you do hard, new, or scary things. Think of confidence from experience as a bonus. It's what shows up after you've done something a bunch of times, right? It is usually domain specific, and it's why certain parts of your life feel easier now, like your routine tasks, things you've done 1,000 million times, driving a car, brushing your teeth, walking in a straight line, drinking a glass of liquid, whatever it is, milk, water, whatever, take your poison, right? You know how to do that. You know you're not going to pour it down the front of you most of the time, you know? And even if you did do that, you probably wouldn't lose confidence in the fact that you could probably do it the next time without failing, without pouring it down the front of your shirt. You know what I'm saying? Confidence is great to have for like these automated tasks, right? Mastered skills also, the pieces of parenting or co-parenting that you've had to do on repeat, or skills of maybe woodworking or coding or anything that you have to do in your day-to-day job that or skills that you've mastered. This is where that belongs because your body wants to be efficient, right? And so it learns those things on automatic and you're confident about it. It's like a no-brainer that you know that you can do it. It makes your life much easier, right? Predictable situations is another place that confidence is nice to have. Conversations and appointments where you already know the drill. You know, you're not like an alien coming down from, up in the sky, coming down and not knowing how to set an appointment. You know how. You have confidence that you can do it because you've done it before. You know how this works, right? Public performance also. Tasks like public speaking, when you have a history of successful presentations to look back on. Your nervous system can relax there because it already has proof. We've done this, we survived this, and that is confidence, or that you're even good at it, whatever it is, That's confidence. But the truth is that you don't actually need that history to move, okay? What you really need is self-confidence, your belief in you. Self-confidence is what lets you pivot or start something new. handle adversity, having the faith that you can manage a situation even if it doesn't turn out as you wanted. Walk into court again after a horrible last hearing, whatever it is, you know? Um, I always go to what's going on for me, but like I just remember, well, I don't even have to talk about me. It's like they always say, like, if you fall off a horse, get right back on. That's because you want to have confidence. But even if you don't, if you have that gap between doing it once and then there's this buildup of, oh, I tried that before and it didn't work out for me. What I'm talking about is the opposite of that. Like, I tried it before, it didn't work out. Now this is data. And it's okay that it didn't work out. And what is working out anyway? Working out could mean that I did fail, and that failure is building my self-confidence because I use that now to build my resilience and my capacity. And then we can get into that later. I keep jumping the gun and going off my notes. So self-confidence helps you to take risks, right? Step outside your comfort zone, such as like showing up for your kid's game, despite feeling nervous because last time you were rejected. Self-confidence helps you do all that stuff, knowing you're going to be facing adversity and you do it anyway because it's okay, because you have you. Facing judgment, facing the haters, facing whatever it is, it's all going to be okay. Self-confidence also helps you to recover from that failure if there is a quote-unquote failure, viewing setbacks as challenges to overcome rather than a reason to stop. And then another thing that self-confidence, there's two more things, helps you to do is operate without validation. Choosing to take an unconventional path, as most of us kind of have, like speaking up in a room full of people who might judge you, because you are comfortable in your own skin. And like I said, the problem with us is maybe you were comfortable in your own skin years ago, but then all of this stuff happened and the microscope was put on you. You feel like you're swimming around in a fishbowl and everything you do is wrong and you've screwed everything up from the narrative that you're receiving, right? So then you become uncomfortable in your own skin. And in order to get out of your own skin for yourself, you go looking outwards. And we think that that's going to fix it. And it doesn't. It ends up actually compounding the situation because then you are literally beside yourself. Hopefully I make sense when I'm saying that. Also, like things like leaving a relationship, changing your career, reinventing yourself after alienation, those kinds of things. And all of those moments, experience might be missing. It might be messy. It might even be painful, excruciating even. What carries you there and through all of what I just talked about isn't, I've done this before. It's, I trust myself to figure it out and to stay with me, behind me while I do. So here's the part that nobody tells you too. As long as you're willing to feel uncomfortable, as long as you're willing to feel uncomfortable, you can get really, really good at self-confidence, at feeling it, at embodying it, right? Self-confidence is basically a relationship, your relationship with discomfort. Not, oh, I've felt discomfort before, I can feel again, right? Like confidence or like rolling your eyes about the discomfort. Instead, it's once you've practiced feeling scared, and sometimes it's not our choice, right? But it's the attitude that you take along the way. Once you practice feeling scared, awkward, exposed, or unsure, and then doing the thing anyway for the sake of growth, self-confidence starts to become your default. It becomes your narrative, and it becomes native for you. So that's why I care and I'm so passionate about self-confidence. When you really believe in yourself, willing to feel discomfort on purpose, you can achieve anything you put your mind to. Anything that you want to do, and you have good reasons, like you have your good why, so long as you're willing to feel that discomfort, you can do anything. Okay? So let me make this really concrete because I know that you've lived this. There have been so many times in my life where I had no experience, no track record, and still felt completely sure that I could handle it. There wasn't confidence in a skill set. It was self-confidence. It was a belief. It was self-trust. And then there have been other moments where I had plenty of experience and my confidence still shattered because of what I was believing about myself at the time. Let me walk you through a few examples from my own life so you can start to see for your own self. The easiest way that I came up with here is being a mom. I had neither did you, I know, real life experience in doing it, being a mom, being a parent. Back then, whenever I had my kiddo, I know we've got different age groups listening to this. Back then, when I was pregnant back in 2006 and part of 2007, internet was a thing, but it wasn't what it is today. So it's not like I thought, oh, if I run into some sort of issue that Google will tell me or YouTube. YouTube was, I think it was there, but it wasn't a thing, or AI. No way, And yet I remember this deep knowing of like, I will figure this out because I care. I care enough I'll figure it out. I'll keep trying. In fact, even there was no keep trying. It was like, for me, it was like, I will figure this out because I'm her mom, even before I ever had her. And I'm sure that you guys can all say the same thing, moms and dads alike. That was self-confidence. I wasn't confident in diaper changing or soothing techniques or sleep schedules or swaddling, right? I was confident in me and my willingness to learn on the job, like in the moment, right? So it was self-confidence first that I had, and then confidence caught up later in that situation. Same thing, I was reminded about this funny little, I don't know what to call it because I don't know if I'm quite proud of this moment or more embarrassed, but here it is. I'm going to tell you anyway. Somebody they were like, hey, remember when same thing happened outside of this neighborhood bar restaurant one time where there was this cocky barback had challenged me to a push-up contest, right? And at that time, I was in my peak performance shape, And so he had challenged me to push-up contest first, right? And so push-up contest, I was like, yo, yeah, I'm down. And then I did it and then beat this guy, right? And then he got upset. And so then he was like, how about one-arm push-ups? Can't believe I'm telling you guys this. And I do this with arm wrestling sometimes too. But anyway, so I had never done a one-arm push-up in my life, like ever, never attempted it, nothing, right? But I remember clearly being like, oh, sure, absolutely, I'll do this with you. And so we were supposed to do 5 one-arm push-ups, and I just did it. No questions asked. It was not even not a doubt in my mind that I could get it done. I had full confidence in myself, like self-confidence. And I probably couldn't do it again, who knows? But in that moment, my belief in my strength and determination, even more, was sky high. I had zero doubt. So there it was, self-confidence, maybe a little bit of confidence too, because I knew that I was strong, but most of that was coming from determination and knowing that when I put my mind to doing it, I would figure it out in that moment because I was like on a mission, and so maybe you had something like that. Another silly example here is playing pickleball. I had never played before in my life, but I walked onto the court that day that I tried with the expectation that I would figure it out as I went. I'm amazing at pickleball. That was definitely not my thought, right? I trust my brain and my body to learn something new. Again, that's self-confidence, not confidence. Because I had no history that showed that I could do this. But I just knew that I would figure it out, I've played other sports before. I'll figure it out. If I'm not great at it, it's okay. I'm just going to go on and give it a try. Meet some people, hang out, And that's what I did, and it was fun. So another example is leaving my ex, right? Maybe this one's familiar to you too. There was no guarantee that when I left that it would go smoothly. There was no track record that said you've done this before and it will be easy. Not in the situation that I'm thinking about this one time, the last time. What I did have was a line in the sand that said anything less than figuring this out is unacceptable. The pain had gotten so much that I was not scared of what was going to come. I was more feeling resolve about leaving and knowing that I could do this, right? I had let all the other options go out the window. I was like, nothing else is a possibility. I must leave and I will figure it out. Doesn't matter what happens. I will get it done, right? So I chose to believe on purpose that I would find a way, right? It was a very conscious decision. And like, I will figure this out. And I'm sure many, many, many of you listening have that same experience, when you left, you know? Um, and then on the other side of things, do you guys remember that story? If you've been listening for a while, maybe you do, that I told just after New Year's. I think it was last year, like 2025. It could have been 24, though. I don't know. Where I had decided to buy a Harley after years of not having one, right? On paper, my confidence should have been rock solid. But I went and bought that Harley and I left the showroom, right? Got on the highway and then I almost killed myself. I mean, not intentionally, right? Almost killed myself on this really high exit ramp or overpass in Austin. From then on, from that point on, I couldn't go right. It's like Zoolander. I just couldn't go right. I think his was left. I couldn't do it. I was a train wreck on this bike. And so here's the thing though, like I was saying a second ago, is that I had ridden a bike for years before this incident happened. But after all the things that had gone on, and the fact that I was at the time that I went and bought that bike, my life was at an all-time low as far as my thoughts about myself, what I was capable of. It felt really dark in my world. My future looked very bleak. And so my extensive years of riding a motorcycle in the past had zero bearing on my ability to ride again, my thoughts about my ability to ride again. At that very time in my life, all of the shit had gone down, and it was still going down. That incident happened was right at the time where I had not sold that house yet in order to go back to court. It was just before all the last big boom of stuff was going to go down. My lack of confidence in my ability came from what I was believing about myself back then. At that time, I doubted everything I knew about myself, and I probably wouldn't have even bet like $1 on me, because I didn't believe in myself in my own capacity. I didn't believe in my follow through, and my confidence had shattered because it was fixed. I told myself before things were different. I was different. Now I'm not capable. I can't do it anymore. I can't go right on the bike. What I'm saying here is that suddenly all of that experience I had in the past, all that confidence that I had, I've got a hair on my face, meant nothing because my self-confidence had already been shattered. That's how you can have confidence in a skill and still feel completely unsafe inside your own skin. I mean, I had done it before. I'd done it a million times over, and yet something happened, and that something with a lot of things in a whole period of time where I changed all of my beliefs about what I was capable of. And then I was capable of nothing. Even the things that I knew so well, I couldn't do, So when I say confidence comes from experience and self-confidence comes from your thoughts and your willingness to feel discomfort, this is exactly what I mean, you guys. It's about what you're willing to believe about yourself intentionally and what kind of discomfort you're willing to put yourself through in the name of growth, for the sake of growth. Because if your self-confidence has been eroded by trauma, the trauma of alienation or trauma and alienation, years of criticism, whatever it is, your actual skills can feel unavailable to you. The work is rebuilding that inner belief and your capacity to feel uncomfortable on purpose so you can access who you've always been. So if you're listening to this and thinking, okay, cool, but I don't have that belief anymore, I want you to know that there are real reasons that you're feeling like that your confidence has been shattered. You weren't born second guessing yourself. Self-confidence gets chipped away over time, usually in really predictable ways. Okay? So let's talk about what erodes self-confidence for alienated or traumatized parents and or traumatized parents. So the first way, I'm just going to list these. I've got them bullet pointed here, is ACEs in childhood, adverse childhood experiences. Okay, growing up with overly critical parents, lack of affection, abuse, or high pressure environments can cause you to feel inadequate or unsure of yourself and your judgment. The next way is bullying and social rejection. Being laughed at, excluded, or talked about, especially as a kid or teen, plants the idea that you're too much, number one, or not enough, two. Okay. Or three, the other option is goes back and forth to you're being too much, you're not enough. You're not being too much in this area and you're not enough in all the areas that count, which prevents you building competence and it causes you to second guess yourself. So the next way is negative self-talk. When you've spent years talking to yourself in the way that your harshest critic did, whoever that was, minimizing every win, magnifying every mistake, your brain starts to believe that version of you is the truth. Mental and physical health, depression, anxiety, trauma responses, chronic illness, all of that can drain your energy and distort how capable you feel, even when nothing about your actual abilities have changed. The next one is social comparison in social media. Constantly seeing other parents as thriving or looking as though they're thriving can turn into a 24/7 reminder of how you're behind or you're failing or you don't have the right situation or the right setup to thrive as well. And the last one I have here is trauma and life events, right? Hello, alienation, divorce, job loss, financial crises, and especially the interruption of your relationship with your child through alienation, right? All of those things don't just hurt your heart, they shake your identity. They can leave you feeling like if I couldn't protect my own child, then why would I trust myself with anything else? And it may not be those words too. You just may actually still hear the voice of, like I just mentioned, the voice of your worst critic, which right now may be the alienating parent. And so you might be judging nitpicking every little thing that you do without even summarizing it as I can't trust myself. It might just be that you have like this voice heckling you throughout your day to day, you know? So when you stack all of that together, of course your self-confidence can take a hit. Of course, your brain is trying to protect you by saying, don't risk, don't move, don't trust yourself. So just know that, of course, there's nothing wrong with you if this is where you're at right now. As I say, probably every episode. Okay, so now what? Now you have a clearer picture of how your self-confidence got eroded. This is where you can start to take your power back. Not by magically feeling confident, self-confident overnight, but by generating emotions that will help you to create it. And also I have some questions for you, two main questions for you at the end, okay? But so you want to, in order to feel self-confident, you can use other emotions. What do I have listed here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 8 different emotions plus a mindset that will help you to create self-confidence, okay? So I was originally going to word this a little bit differently, and this is the part. I was just going to give you a couple exercises, but I really think it's important for you to notice. I talk about this a lot. If you're a new listener, I talk about emotions a lot because emotions drive all your actions, and what you're thinking is going to cause your emotions. So right now I'm going to do it a little backwards, and we're going to talk about the feelings that you need to generate, and then I'm going to go from there and how to get those emotions to you. Okay, so your foundational emotions that you need, like your inner workspace, if you will, that you need to create internal stability in order to trust yourself before you have any sort of external proof of success, is self-compassion is number 1. Treating yourself with the same kindness as you would offer a friend, obviously. This emotion allows you to forgive your mistakes, viewing them as moments in time rather than permanent reflections of your character. Okay, so self-compassion is 1. The next one is curiosity. Super important, okay, to embrace curiosity throughout all of this work. And really, curiosity is such a great emotion to lean into, experience to lean into in all the areas of your life, especially the challenging ones. But so instead of judging your fears or failures, observe them with fascination. I talk about this a lot, you guys. Curiosity shifts you from a fixed mindset of being good or bad or right or wrong or lucky, unlucky. You get me, right? To a growth mindset, which is focused on learning and expanding. So self-compassion, curiosity, gratitude is my next one here. So focus on what you do have and who you are right now. Being okay with that. You guys know I preach this too. being okay with where you are right now as you sit before trying to need to get somewhere else. This one seems so backwards, like you need to get somewhere else to get happy, but that's the opposite way to do it. It's back asswards. You want to get okay with where you are using gratitude, even for your small daily wins, little things that you can appreciate about your life as it is right now, even from the darkest place you've ever been in. Okay? I speak from experience here. This is one of the things that pulled me out of where I was getting happy or getting okay with where I was, and where I was not pleasant. In fact, my coach told me back in the day when I was in the darkest space, when I was up in I guess it wasn't the darkest space, but it wasn't a happy place, on the house on the hill when I had first just moved there. And I was ready to already move away from the whole situation, like get the hell out of Dodge. And my coach encouraged me to stay there until I didn't need to leave, really, to get happy there, or cultivate the ability to be happy there. And then once I could do that, then I could move. And that's what I did. And I'm so glad that she ever told me that. And I'm glad that I listened to her. Anyway, so gratitude for small daily wins creates a positive feedback loop that strengthens your perceived self-worth. Instead of basing your self-worth on all of these external factors. The next one is acceptance. This is the last one of the foundational emotions. Acceptance, radical acceptance, if we're talking about this situation, the willingness to experience the full range of emotions, the good emotions, the bad emotions, the ugly, all of it, including the uncomfortable ones like shame or frustration, without trying to escape them. It is so key. If you can do this, if you can get comfortable with the uncomfortable, then you can achieve anything. I mean this. And not make the uncomfortable mean something about you or about what's going to happen. The second part of this, of emotions, is action driving emotions. And this is what it's all really important, but I think that this element is really important if you're feeling stuck right now. If you're feeling stuck and you can't generate momentum, motivation, whatever it is, then these are your fuel. I have, clients that say, 2 or 3 clients now that have said that they feel like rudderless, like recently, rudderless or directionless. And this is because they're not leaning into these 4 emotions. They're energetic states that move you from just thinking about doing it, pondering it, waiting until the time is right, to doing, which will ultimately solidify your self-confidence through experience, yes, but also just trust in yourself and knowing that you're going to do what you say you want to do for yourself, and not let excuses and fear hold you back from those things that ultimately you really, really want from yourself. That's what erodes our self-trust too. And I just got off doing a whole episode on that last week. So if you haven't watched that one, you might want to watch that one too, or listen to it. When you allow for fear or for your own excuses, making excuses, or somebody else to stand in the way of what you actually really want for yourself, and then you convince yourself that you don't want it anymore because it's just easier that way, you're in survival mode, you lose self-trust, right? Which will erode your self-confidence. All right. So first emotion is courage. Often mistaken for the absence of fear. It's not. True courage, and if you've listened to any Brene Brown or watched any of her stuff, and you know this, or read any of her books, true courage is the emotion of acting despite feeling afraid. Okay? In spite of negative emotion. Practicing emotional courage builds a track record of your own resilience. You cannot have courage without fear. They come together. They're like holding hands, So fear has to be there, or else there would no reason to have courage. So optimism is the next one. Cultivating the belief that your positive outcomes are possible and that you have the capacity to handle whatever happens, as I've been saying throughout this whole episode. Okay? Skeptical optimism fosters curiosity needed in order to gain and keep learning, gain knowledge and keep learning. Okay. The next one, and the one I really wanted to lead with, is determination. The drive to follow through on promises that you make to yourself. And I was kind of just mentioning this a second ago. Each time you do what you say you're going to do for yourself, your self-trust, I wrote this and I always forget what I write. Your self-trust and therefore self-confidence grows, increases. Okay. And the last one is joy. And it's actually a sub pride, like self pride. Purposefully acknowledging and soaking in your small successes reinforces a positive self image and also provides the energy to take the next risk. It provides that like momentum, like having pride in the work that you've put out there to the world, or even just the steps that you've taken out there in the world, you know? So the other thing that you need, and I've already talked about this, but I want to bring it home, is that you need the processing growth mindset, processing/growth mindset. It's not just about feeling good about yourself, self-confidence. It's not just, oh, I feel good today. I feel confident in myself and my abilities. No, because that's fleeting, you know? It's about being good at feeling everything and being okay with that and trusting in your ability to handle, as I've been saying the whole time, anything that comes your way. Anything, you know? You may not have the skill of public speaking, right? You may be scared shitless of going up on a stage. Not to say that you ever need to do that, but going up on a stage and speaking eloquently, succinctly to a group of people, right? Many people have this fear of public speaking, me included. I did. I probably still do. It's been a while since. Anyway, it's okay to have the fear. It's okay to have the fear. And maybe if you've never done it before, there's going to be that added, like, what if? But here's the thing about that, and now I'm going off of even what I was even planning on talking about, is that even when you're afraid to go speak out in public, right? What you're actually fearing is you and the thoughts and the discomfort that you will feel as a result of going up there and speaking. Because in your mind, you are thinking, if this is you, you are thinking, they're going to hate me. They're going to judge me. They're going to this, right? We don't know what they're actually thinking. It's you that's creating a story about what they're doing, which that story that you tell yourself is what is causing your discomfort. And that's what you're ultimately avoiding. Do you see? So then you are afraid of going up on stage and talking in front of other people because you're scared of what you will think about other people thinking about you, which is still all your own thoughts. You know? So if you're willing to embrace the discomfort of having human thoughts, and not giving in to those thoughts and believing them, then you can also accomplish anything. So when you trust that you can handle any emotional outcome, including the worst case scenario of feeling rejected or embarrassed, you become unstoppable. Unfucking stoppable. Right? So, now I have 6, 7, very quickly, I'm going to go through exercises that you can do to build up all of these emotions, to like help you to hone in on these emotions and also build self-trust. So your foundational exercises to go with the foundational emotions. Brene Brown talks about this, and I actually use this, and I got this from my coach way back. She talks about a trust jar, and you can actually do this physically and have a jar. Every time you keep a small, boring promise to yourself, like I was talking about in last week's episode, keeping all those, whatever you think like they're not going to make a dent in your situation, but those promises that you keep to yourself when you ask yourself what you need and then you respond accordingly to that, keep your word to yourself, you build trust with yourself. But the way that you could do it, sorry, I'm being all wordy, is that you can either envision a jar that you add a marble to, but I like it even better if you actually get a jar. And I do this for the way that I use it with habits clients, is I call it's an urge jar. And so each time you have an urge and don't answer the urge, then you go put a marble in the jar. And you do the same thing here with the trust jar with yourself. Each time that you keep your word to yourself and follow through with what you say you're going to do, then you put a marble in the jar. And it's so crazy how stuff like this, your reward system internally, it gives you a hit of dopamine each time you put a marble in the jar. And as you see it, especially knowing that it's building up to go to the top, it becomes your motivation, momentum, and all the things. But you can do it, you can imagine it too. It's however you want. Anyway, it also kind of gamifies it, makes it fun, and your brain loves a good game or puzzle to solve, and it likes the easy wins. So that's one way, okay? For self-compassion, what you can do is when you feel like you failed, this is something so simple. It would be so good if you could just pause and say just a couple, through 2, 3 things to yourself. One is call the moment what it is. When you fail, this is a moment of suffering for me. It's a moment of suffering. Suffering is part of life. That's the second thing that you say. It's part of life. This is what the human condition is. We're all going to suffer. And suffering also means growth. That's not the other thing that you say. And then the last thing that you say is, may I continue to be kind to myself and with myself during this. It's all going to be okay. Something along those lines. It anchors you in your own humanity, and it stops any sort of self-shaming spiral that goes on that will kill confidence. When you shame yourself, that's like a choice that you make. And well, it isn't a choice until you know it's a choice, and then it's a choice from here on out. Okay? Now that I've told you, there's no going back, so it's a choice. So, and each time you make that choice, it chips away your self-confidence. All right. So I talked about this kind of a little bit last week, but in a different way. You could also just give yourself, put one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly, and just basically it's like giving yourself a little hug. Listen to your breathing and just doing this alone and inhale and exhale. It can actually calm your nervous system. It does calm your nervous system, and it will help you to process your emotion rather than reacting to it. Okay? Which is really important. Because the more reactive you are, the more outward, external focused you are, and the less internal focused you are. And then we're back to where we started, where I said that alienation teaches us to do that. And then it brings us further and further away from ourselves, which is not what we need. Okay? So you want to bring yourself back to home. All right. So action-oriented exercises. Listen, the first one I have here is that when you are feeling a quote unquote scary emotion or a really uncomfortable emotion like embarrassment or rejection, right? Rejection is actually not an emotion. It's more of an assessment, but unloved or something like that, shame or whatever it is. When you're feeling it and you can actually feel the physical sensations, it would be really helpful to try to set a timer on your watch, on your phone, whatever, for 90 seconds, 2 minutes. Because here's the thing. If you can sit with the physical sensation, the physical drop into your body, and sit with that wherever it's landing for you, if it's embarrassment, maybe your face feels hot, you're feeling it tight in your chest, anxiety's got the rolling in the belly. Everybody's a little bit different, but whatever it is, drop into your body and feel it for 90 seconds. It will pass and without reacting to it. Because again, like I've just been talking about, when you try to fix it, usually when we're feeling one of those icky emotions, we want to fix it outward, right? But when you can sit with it, you're communicating to your body, to your nervous system, that there is nothing to be fixed. That maybe nothing is actually gone wrong here for you in the moment. That maybe this emotion is part of the human condition, right? And it is maybe part of some of the necessary suffering that we all go through. And I know that as alienated parents, we go through a different kind of suffering than many people go through, but let's not for a different episode right now. So just normalize the emotion. Okay. There's the gamut of emotions every human feels at some point, So normalizing it without trying to externalize it or go fix, go chase, go do something to change it. It proves to your brain that when you do this, that the emotion is survivable and finite. It's not going to last forever. You don't always need to do something when you're feeling an emotion. And I was brought up the opposite of this. So this was a foreign concept to me for a long time, until I started doing this work years ago. And I tell you, it's everything to be able to just learn and bring myself through the toughest of emotions that I thought I could never survive without picking up a beer or a drink or going and acting on that emotion. When you can teach your body that you can survive this emotion, then you earn trust with yourself and also confidence, self-confidence that you're going to be okay. You can bring yourself through this. Super important. Okay. 90 seconds. That's all you need. The big, scary parts of the emotion usually only last 90 seconds. So long as you don't loop the emotions with your thoughts. Okay? This is super important because many people will stay in anxiety. And I know that's probably what you guys were doing just now. Some of you were arguing with me like, no, my anxiety lasts sometimes all day long, or it's not 90 seconds. An emotion actually can be processed in that amount of time, in 90 seconds time. So long as you don't then go back up into your head, I want you to drop into your body. Don't go back up into your head and start entertaining more thoughts that cause your unnecessary suffering. You hear me? So don't go looping thoughts, get all heady. That is what's causing so many people so much angst, especially us as alienated parents, is because we drag all of the emotions on for way too long, or we're trying to push the emotions away and try to think our way out of the emotions, which also is going to drag your suffering on for unnecessarily long periods of time. Okay. Now, where was I? Another way is through micro risk sort of routine breaks. So if you are a creature of habit, most of us actually are, even though some of us don't want to admit it, you order the same thing at restaurants or you have the same thing every day for breakfast, you can build this a little bit of courage in little areas by doing something like a slightly uncomfortable, right? That is low risk, really low risk. Like brushing your teeth with the right hand or the left hand instead of the right if you're right-handed, the opposite side, or writing with the opposite hand, which actually does help you if you're a right-handed writer and you write with your left hand, you start to use your right brain as opposed to your left, and the opposite, right? So that can help bring you out of yourself, number one, but it also can help you to build up your courage at a low stakes setting, if you will. Another way is to order something completely random from a menu. You know what I do all the time? And I just do this this is my kind of habit. A lot of times is if there's too many choices on a menu, so I'll just tell whoever's serving me to bring me whatever they choose. Here's 3 things, completely different things. Pick out of one of those. You choose. And it just helps to like stir things up a little bit and get you out of your own cycle of doing the same things over and over and over again. All right. There's other exercises. In fact, if you guys want them, let me know, because I can maybe put them on the blog or something like that for you, but it's getting to be too long right now. So I'm going to try to wrap it up. But the last thing I want to talk about is that, I was talking about your processing or growth mindset. So the exercises that you can use to exercise that mindset or to grow it, sounds so redundant, grow the growth mindset, is write a letter to yourself from the perspective of a friend who sees all of your flaws but loves you anyway, loves you fiercely anyway. And it helps doing it like this, like a full-on letter, like knowing everything, all of your deepest, darkest secrets, but still loves you for all of the things. And here are the things I do love about you. You writing that letter to you can help you to separate your worth from your performance, from your mistakes, which is really ultimate key to unshakable self-confidence and self-trust and self-love. And accessing the friend version of you, if you can be your biggest, best friend, like your biggest fan, then it's so much easier to relax in settings with all the other people, in settings where you might be judged. Because let's face it, everybody's going to be judged at some point, right? Just expecting that you're going to be judged and be okay with it, because you know that you're your biggest fan, and that if the world all just fell away right now, there was an apocalypse, you know that you would be okay, right? That you could handle things because you love you, and you can't be abandoned. You can't be all the things because you are your own best friend, you know? And yes, connection, emotional, social support. Yes, of course, we all benefit from that. But I always, always want to encourage you to be your biggest supporter, because what happens when those people fall away for some reason? Who knows if they will, but it's always best to be able to rely on yourself first and feel really fulfilled and enriched by your own energy, you know? Okay, so that's one way. Write a letter to yourself from a friend who knows you and knows all your flaws and still loves you. And what are those reasons? All right, and then the last thing is the reframe audit. List your top 3 inner bully phrases, okay? So I'm gonna look stupid, I suck at this, people are gonna judge me, I have terrible clothes, I'm a terrible parent, whatever it is that you say, and ask, of course, you heard me talk about this before, is this factually true, or is this just a protective emotion, protective thing to say? What am I gaining by offering this to myself? Okay? And then the last thing is those 2 questions that I want you to ask for yourself. Question 1 is, when you get to a specific situation or a specific scenario where you know that you don't feel confident and you look to others to find confidence, to borrow their confidence. That's what it is, really. You want to ask yourself, why? This is so simple, but it's so helpful when you pinpoint it. Why am I not feeling confident right now in this moment? Right? Not in a vague way, very specifically. When you notice yourself freezing, overthinking, or handing your power to somebody else, ask, what is the exact thought that's causing me to doubt myself right now in this moment? It might sound like, I always mess this up. It's just like I was kind of saying a second ago with the reframe audit. I always mess this up. If I get this wrong, I'll lose my child forever. Everybody will see I'm a fraud. I can't handle another disappointment, something like that, right? We don't often question those sentences, but instead we just wear them internally like name tags for ourselves. We just take it on as being fact about ourselves. So the first question is about pulling the sentence, whatever the sentence is that you're leaning into right now, out of the dark and actually looking at it. Like as if you could hold it in your hand, the sentence. Everyone will see I'm a fraud. Oh, that's what I'm saying to myself? How interesting. Curiosity. Okay, that's where you start to embrace curiosity here. Huh. So that's what I've been saying to myself. I wonder why I believe that, you know? And now when you say that, don't go looking to all the evidence out there, okay? Instead, you just want to hold it there, okay? And see it. That's interesting. And then the second question is, who do I want to see myself as? If I wasn't letting the old story run the show, who do you want to be in this moment? Old story is erased. Let it go for a hot second. Who do I want to be right now? If there was no barriers in the way, like there was no, oh, well, I can't be that person because this person would judge me. I can't be who I want to be because my child is gone, or I don't have the money, or I don't have the resources, blah, 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 blah. Who do I want to see myself as? Take all the barriers away, okay? What specifically do I want to believe about me from here moving forward? Don't worry about what other people are going to think. That is the problem, and that is what takes you back off the course and right back into the external again. And it will keep you, it is a trap. It will keep you in a loop of always seeking external validation, and I know that that's not what you want. So, just some quick examples of, maybe it's, I'm a parent that keeps showing up even when it hurts. Maybe it's, I'm a born leader, you know, the leader of your, I was talking about this maybe last week or the week before, the leader of your family, the leader of your life, the leader of me, right? Instead of looking for your leader, well, who's going to be my leader? I'm the leader. I'm the leader of me. What do leaders embrace? They embrace courage. They embrace confidence, assuredness, a feeling and an aura of knowing that they can handle it. So how can you do that today? Just knowing, without even having any experience, I'm going to figure this out. Determination. I really, really want to encourage you to lean into the four emotions I mentioned in the action part of that, right? Because that's what's going to bring you out of the stuckness. And maybe another thought is I'm willing to feel uncomfortable in order to grow. What I've been talking about throughout this whole episode. I'm building a track record with myself, not with outcomes that I can't control, you know? This is all for me. And it's okay. It is my time to be focused on me, especially if your kids are right now not in the physical picture. They're not in your everyday life, day-to-day world. This is your time. This is your sign to really lean into being self-focused. I was going to say selfish, and I don't think anything's actually wrong with that, because likely you weren't self-focused ever, and that's why we're in this whole mess to begin with. So now is your time. So you're not forcing yourself to feel confident, self-confident instantly. You're choosing a direction for your self-image to grow toward. The whole point of all this, in summary, do not wait to feel ready, okay? Do not wait to feel ready. Do not wait to feel confident either. Let the discomfort that you're feeling or that you will feel be proof that you're actually building self-confidence, self-trust, all of it is self-love. Because as long as you're willing to feel uncomfortable, as I've been saying, you can get good at self-confidence. Every time you feel that tightness in your chest, the hot face, the shaking hands, and you still choose to back yourself, to have your own back, you are teaching your nervous system, we can do hard things, and I'm still not going to abandon you. I'm still here for you. Talking to yourself. That's self-confidence. And over time, those discomfort reps, like you just continuing to allow for the discomfort, they add up. The belief that I can handle whatever happens stops from being some cute little affirmation and starts feeling like your default setting. Next week, we're going to take a look at this even further and talk about capacity versus capability, and what you can actually have the energy and resources for, and how self-confidence will slowly expand what's possible for you as a parent and as a human. Okay? So that's all I have for you guys. I love you. Have a lovely week. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening today. If you like what you're hearing and you'd like to hear more, please make sure to click subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. Also, for bite-sized clips and tips, be sure to find me on TikTok or Instagram. See you next week.